Good afternoon, Brother Christensen. I hope that you and whoever else is watching this had a wonderful 4th of July Independence Day celebration this past week. I was actually in, my family and I went to Boise, Idaho, Meridian to be exact, to for a family reunion, and we just got back here to Phoenix this morning, um, and it was very nice to enjoy a few days of mild climate. It is hot here in Phoenix. I don't know if you've been here in summertime, but it is right now 118 degrees. I want to report on this week's readings, chapter 26 and 27, that deal with corporate law and corporate management. Very applicable to what I do today in my leadership capacity. I have to both safeguard and be a good steward and gatekeeper of some of the nuances that, if poorly managed, might get our organization in um, some sort of risk for liability if things are not handled or managed properly. So these two chapters were very applicable and very good reminders of the details to the extent that Brother Hales covers these two subjects. So loved it, enjoyed every piece that I read in both chapters. So with that, I'm gonna just very quickly summarize both of them and get right into what it wasn't really hard to do, which is establish connections and the personal takeaways. So with that, I'll get into the quick summary here. Chapter 26 deals with the formation and types of corporations. It describes the steps for creating a corporation, including filing articles of incorporations, drafting bylaws, and holding initial meetings. It also covers different types of corporations, such as domestic, foreign, publicly held, and closely held as corporations and nonprofit corporations. Chapter 27 discusses corporate management by exploring, amongst many subjects, this is the one that came to the forefront of my um, radar, just because it's what I'm uh, most familiar with. Discusses corporate management by exploring the primary functions of corporate management, including planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. It also discusses the importance of strategy decision making and management's role in guiding corporate strategy. So, again, as I said at the beginning, it's right up to what it aligns perfectly to what I do today in my organization. Relevant quotes. I enjoyed this one piece that Brother Hales shares under the nature of corporations, and I quote from him: corporations, however, do not have privilege against self-incrimination. In any lawsuit, courts can require corporations to disclose incriminating documents, even if they implicate the officers or directors of the business. One practice that I close quote. One practice that I very early in my years of tenure as a leader, I learned to default to verbal communication in high stake matters and use written communication as a form of notification or recap of high stake conversations. For this very reason, while I had not necessarily been educated on what I just quoted from Brother Hills, very early in my tenure, I was taught by great mentors and leaders to use this form of communication as a default, verbal that is, and then written, just so we can protect the integrity of um, when liability risk translates into a lawsuit and all communications, especially written communication, becomes discoverable. Anything that had been part of a uh, connected to the subject of the matter of the lawsuit can be um, subpoenaed by a court, and if I or any of my business partners made any reference that might be perceived as um, high risk or connected to the case, it could be interpreted in so many different ways that usually don't favor the organization. So, with that, with my own personal experience, I've come conditioned to use written communication as the I don't want to say the last resource, but this is something that is completely understood and risk free. So I think I did a really good job adhering to this piece of um, counsel by Brother Hales in that regard. So, and I should say this while I'm on this subject, I've never been sued or been in any sort of litigation where my poor judgment and communicating and writing and exposing things that it shouldn't be. Um, I've been free of this for the 20 plus years that I have in corporate and leadership. Connections, corporate law and corporate management are deeply connected in the daily business life. Corporate law establishes the legal framework for forming and governing a corporation, defining roles, responsibilities, and compliance requirements. Corporate management, um, on a similar note, translate these legal mandates into practical actions, guiding decision making, financial management, and strategic planning. As a personal takeaway from the readings, corporate law provides a rigid framework that corporations must follow to ensure legal integrity. This encompasses everything from the formation of a corporation, adherence to regulatory requirements, and the duties of directors and officers. Somewhere in between everything that I just shared as it relates to personal takeaway has to do with um, good judgment. I give the example of communicating in verbal and using written form of communication as the way to recap or reinstate a conversation. Um, and that is interconnected with using good judgment. Anything that you say or do, especially if you write, it's a discoverable element that can be used for or against, um, in favor or not of any case that might be discussed. And it's very important and critical for managers to understand the fundamental principles that um, govern any sort of communication in any manner, especially in written manner. So dealing with corporate law and corporate management is something that can be fun. It provides a lot of exposure, good exposure, and it's a good learning experience. But it must be understood that there are some implications if not, if judgment isn't applied in the best and most efficient manner. I hope this is helpful. And again, I really enjoyed this week's readings. And that's my report for this week.